spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Oh my goodness, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, hey there. How are you doing, Aaron?
You just get cheesier by the day, sir.
Well, look, I was going to do this, but I knew you told me not to do that anymore.
You promised me you wouldn't do it in 2023.
Yeah, I listen to you because I care about you, and I know it makes you mad, and so I don't do it. But I just want you to know, in like sports commentary, like they always go like, "Hey," like it's like you move in on the camera. So,
God. Do you know what I went to college for?
I thought we both went to college, but we really never studied anything.
Right, but do you know what I originally went to college for?
Journalism.
To be a sports journalist.
Oh my God! Well, yeah,
And
you host 5 podcasts, so that kind of does it. And you paid more than
first women to have my own sports column at KU in the paper.
Wow.
One of the first women that had that. And I decided when I was 20, I didn't want to be a sports journalist. So we don't need to do the chairs.
Well, what's interesting is you were saying in the waiting room, which we can't wait to get our guest on board and talk about things like Bank of Blue Valley and Burns McDonnell have going on. But you run 5 of these podcasts. So in theory, you're actually paid more than an on-anchor person that does sports locally because you own a media company. So
yeah, I ended up in media
anyways.
Long way around it. Hey, I want to talk about today. Was today a special day for your kids at school?
It was. They celebrated 100 days of being in school. And so my wife and I, oh, look at that. There they are. Man, oh, man.
They're so cute.
I know. Yeah, we had to offer them gummy bears for that photo. So they didn't want to smile this morning.
I'll come to your house for gummy bears. I love gummy bears. Hey, I want to talk about Burns and Mac real quick. I just saw something before we got on here so much. I wrote it on a note.
They win another award?
I used to work at a company that you got fired if you use sticky notes. So now I use them all the time just because that was long 7 years. Burns and McDonnell was just named in the top 100 places to work by Glassdoor today.
That is no easy feat. And I think Facebook and Google randomly dropped off like a top 10 or top 20 for the first time in a long time. And so for Burns McDonnell, the local company, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, every company on there was like a major tech company. And then I saw Burns and McDonnell. I was like, what? I'm writing that down and talking about it on our show. So
it's pretty nuts.
So both Burns McDonnell and Bank of Blue Valley, they are the best sponsors we could ask for. They are amazing. So make sure you check them out. All right, sir. You ready to do this? We have a great panel today. Oh, you know what? Can you please tell us if you're watching us? I can see all sorts of people watching us. Tell us if you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, right? Facebook never wins, but I can see there's a lot of people watching on Facebook.
They win every time because when they comment, we read it.
I know, but there's always so many people on LinkedIn. I'd like to grow that Facebook audience this year. It's one of my goals for 2023 over here with Drinks with Leaders. All right, here's the deal. I am excited to bring up our panel. We have a great panel today, so let us know who you're excited to see. Let me get to this cheesy music that you love.
Ooh, yeah, 80s, 90s. There you go.
All right, we're just going to do by how we came to the show. Our first guest today is one of my favorites. It's Debra Roark, followed by the incredible Kane Fulk. And Jim Kane. Last but certainly not least, we have done Burris. Yay. Jonathan Jones says he is present.
All right.
Paul Fogel is religiously watching on LinkedIn.
Hey, Paul.
All right, here we go, guys. Keep telling us in the comments if you're here. I am so excited by this panel today. This is such a great panel. All right, let's just jump right in. Debra, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City? And what have you quit doing since the last time you were on the show?
Oh, okay. My name is Debbie Roark. I'm the owner of Spirit Life Apparel and Screenprinting. I am a t-shirt guru. We do everything from sublimation to promo products, along with the t-shirts and other apparel. how did I get to Kansas City? I was born and raised here from Wyandotte County, so I'm from the dot, but I am now located in Merriam, Kansas. What was the other question? I forgot.
Well,
What
last
is your
time you were
company
here, you had 2 jobs, but you've since made a life change.
Now,
Like that.
yes, I have retired after 31 years with Ford Motor Company. Now I am just full-fledged in my business here at Spirit Life. So that's what
You turned your side hustle into your full-fledged humongous business.
Absolutely. Full-fledged, full-time, all day, every day.
Now, Debra, where's your company located and what do typical clients look like? So you have single clients, and then you have corporate clients. So walk us through that.
My business is located 5925 IKEA Way, directly across from IKEA. My customers look like a little bit of everybody. I do have individuals along with corporate clients. So I've been blessed to being able to tap into a bunch of different customers as well. So yeah, it's good. I'm busy every day.
And you
So
do
Debra,
all the things.
Yeah.
You do
I
more
do
than just
all the things from t-shirts all the way to sublimation. So everything is done in-house. Embroidery, everything is done in-house. You don't have to worry about anything else.
and then you host team building events because it's so centrally located. So if a company wants to come in, make their own shirts and do a little bit of a team building, they can do that as well. You don't need to name the client, but what's the industry of a corporate client that you were shocked that ended up becoming a really good client of yours?
That this Top Gun. They was one.
That was a group. Yeah, that was a group. Awesome.
But lately it's been I have everywhere from animal clinics, a group of nurses and doctors that came in, churches, and then also schools. I taught some kids. They came in and learned how to make a shirt, and they took it back to the school, and they did a project at school within the school. So,
and then one of the cool things, I think that's one of the cooler things that you do that I don't know anyone else does. Obviously, Scott and I are very familiar with your business. Is you will pre-make designs and go out and do them at an event in person. They can pick the t-shirt, hoodie, whatever, a pre-made design, and you print them in person.
Yes, we do printing events. We print on site. So if you do have an event and maybe you don't want to purchase all of this different stuff, I have shirts left over, we will come there with all of the material. If we have more than one design for you guys, then you pick the design, you pick the type of apparel, we make it right on site, and you able to walk away with that shirt.
Scott, I don't know if you know this, but when I do my speaking, I always have like customized sweatshirts that say stuff about personal branding and stuff, and I get them all from Debra.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. I didn't even think about the sweatshirt side. Of course, your shop has plenty of great high-end sweatshirts. So, but you have a price. You have a price for everyone. They can do T-shirts. They want to make it affordable, or they can do high-end athleisure wear like the sweatshirts and does.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have abundance of different type of apparel. Besides the gilding, you can go all the way up to Nike and Adidas and all different types.
And she even did my kids' Christmas ornaments. They get custom Christmas ornaments of whatever they're into every year. And so she even did those. So she does it all. Jonathan says, can you post your t-shirt contact info in there in the chat? So go put your website in there, Debra, after the show, okay? Or now.
Shout out to Jonathan. He does a great job of really understanding culture from all different aspects. So think of like Gallup and Culture Index. He can piece them all together, and he does it for a 250-person company. So pretty special for anyone in the audience that's watching.
Nice.
Thank you.
Great question, Jonathan, to promote Debra's business.
Awesome.
Yay, thank you.
All right, look at this. Mitch Kid says, what's up, Shay? So, Shay, who are you? What do you do? And are you in Kansas City?
I am Shay Sparks. I'm the CEO of Sparks of Fire International. I'm a certified fearless living coach, trainer, author. I have a podcast, all speaker, all the things. And most recently, what I do is I am a podcast consultant. I spark highly intelligent professionals to find their voice so that they can have a podcast as well. So that has been my new thing. I lived in Kansas City for 29 years. I got there because my dad had moved there and I wanted to be closer to him. So I packed up the day after I turned 19 and I moved there to be closer to him. And within 11 months ago, almost a year, I have now retired, quote unquote, to Florida, but my heart will always be in Kansas City. So what up, Mitch? Good to see you.
So Shay, the two popular audience members, Nick Giuliani and Jeff Palazzo, who have been on the show, are starting a podcast. And you and Aaron are so gracious by always trying to help and give advice to folks. What are maybe some popular answers that you have to give? Because people reach out to you and Aaron all the time. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. But, what advice do you have for audience members that are thinking about engaging with like a Lillian James or engaging with a company like yours? Hey, I'm trying to start a podcast. Like, where do they start and what do they think about?
Yeah. So first of all, a lot of people are thinking it in the back of their head, like, oh, I should start a podcast. So that's number one, like notice that you're already thinking about it or people have been telling you about it. But two, I love when people say, well, the market's already saturated. There's so many podcasts out there already. And it's like, yes, there is. And only a quarter of the ones that are out there are actually over 10 episodes. So it's mind blowing how many podcasts will do just between 1 and 10 episodes. And not even that. Well, I think when 2020 started and everyone was during the shutdown, they literally would start 1 or 2 episodes and then give up. Maybe they went back to work or they just got tired of it. So to be honest, it's really about, that's what I help. I help them find their voice. I just had one of my clients is a chiropractor and he has done an Instagram live show for the past several months. And he was like, I think I want to take it to podcast. And I'm like, yes, you do. Because there is something about podcasting that other people don't realize is like these lives are fantastic. And you can just reach a broader audience when you do a podcast and put it out to all the different platforms that are out there. So that's definitely one of several questions that I get asked all the time.
You can also often take the live audio and just make it a podcast.
Absolutely. And that's something that he wasn't doing as well. So that's something we talked about.
Yeah, it's like if someone ever wanted to do a podcast about veterans buying businesses and growing their community and employing folks. But I'm not going to segue into that guest right now. But Shay, what is one thing that you miss about Kansas City? And what's the one thing you don't miss about Kansas City? And I get that you're here often. So for all of your clients, you're here often. But yes. What is one thing you miss? What's one thing you don't miss?
I miss the people. You of Kansas City is just such an amazing heart. I mean, people automatically are nice. Typically, right? Typically, people are automatically nice. They hold the door open. It's just such a refreshing, come over for a cup of coffee kind of feel to Kansas City. I haven't really had that. I've had that a little bit here, but I am on the East
people
Coast.
In Florida
so
think
it definitely
you're weird
has
when you hold the door open for people? Do they think you're weird when you hold it open?
They kind of look at me funny. They do look at me funny.
I think that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. They do look at me funny. I used to live part-time in DC and there they really looked at me funny if I hold the door open for someone. But I do not miss the weather. I mean, that's just a given. It's 80 degrees here today and it's sunny and beautiful. And that's one of the many reasons I moved here. So yeah, it's definitely the people I miss and the weather I don't.
Our snow is going to start at 9:00 tonight. So
I'm glad I'm not there for that. I saw the Chiefs game and I was like, no way, it's snowing. That's like, no, I don't miss that at all.
No, and they already said it might be a snow day tomorrow for school. So just a fun game we play as parents.
Wow.
Awesome. All right, Jim, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Well, first of all, I'm actually in Branson right now, and I'm looking out through the windows, and the snow is just coming down. This is supposed to be the epicenter of our blizzard today.
Wow.
So I might not get back tomorrow. My name is Jim Kane. I am the owner of Santa Fe Glass, Kansas City area, White River Bath, down in the Branson area, and then Midland Marble and Granite, also up in the Kansas City metro area. Former Army officer, got out of the Army, retired after 22 years, went to work at Sprint, which then became T-Mobile, and went out looking for my own show. I've run into a number of people. Talk about the baby boomer generation. Most small businesses, most successful ones are owned by baby boomers, and it is actually quite hard to retire from that position. Anyway, I continue to have people that I meet that are in the same position. So it has been 10 months since my last business purchase, and my wife thinks I should just probably keep it like that, but there's a lot of, it's something that's needed. I also work with some other veterans who, people have that same idea, right? So I work with other veterans who are interested in business ownership. I think there's a need for it. You have a retiring generation of people who've been leading and running these small businesses, and we have, a constant flow of leaders coming out of the military that have a little bit of experience in doing whatever, managing people, responding to new situations, things like that. So that's what I do.
I looked up these numbers because I wanted to understand how many of these businesses. So I Googled real quick. I want to read these to you. So 2.3 million small businesses are currently owned by baby boomers, which employ 25 million people. So those are the businesses you're saying we've got to get people to purchase and get under new ownership, right?
Right.
Okay, I want to tell you one more stat just because I got a lot of stats. Now that I Googled this, I just found this really interesting. 29% of all businesses are Gen Z owned, 36 millennial, 33% of Gen X, and then 25%. So it's almost evenly distributed. That's so crazy.
It did not used to be.
Right. I think the Gen Z thing happened post-COVID, right?
Can you look up how many baby boomers are retiring per day?
Yeah.
It's
massive. The reason Gen Z is a post-COVID thing. How many baby boomers retiring by day?
Yes.
Jim, but you also have the passion, not just for building wealth for yourself and your family and employing a lot of people. You also help other veterans pro bono on their journey, and kind of talk a little bit about from the audience. I think once people go through that, you think to yourself like, oh my gosh, you were running a military operation of 1,000, 10,000 some people, but you can't be the director of HR for a 50-person company. So kind of walk the audience through that, because I know I was shocked in my 20s because I struggled to try to help people find opportunities that were former military.
Also, let me tell you this number, 10,000.
10,000 a day. And it's our largest generation. If you think about through your professional career, you get better at what you're doing, right? Actually, I think they say between 45 and 65 is your most effective years. So we have our largest generation retiring, massive numbers per day. And the business owners, like I meet people, what's the option? Like they can quit and go leave, and then all of their employees are, they're all out of work.
25 million, that's crazy.
As far as the transition for people out of the military, I think it's a little different by where they were, by the age category, the length of time in the military, the difference between somebody who did one enlistment and got out, and they have different challenges. I end up working a lot with people who are career military, and I find it honestly it's a little sad. I mean, you look at like military officers who do something like go to the U.S. Military Academy when they're 18 years old, which is about the most, absolute hardest to get into, cream of the crop, top fraction of a percent of 18-year-olds are going to the service academies. You have to have a nomination from a congressman or the vice president of the United States, and they all can only give 2. It is very, very hard to get into. These are absolutely stunning young people. And yet 22 years later, after incredible experiences, a lot of them just, they're retired. They'll go do something that they figure they've had their adventures. They've done everything they can. Now they're going to take a job on like Fort Leavenworth, writing the same report that they learned how to write 15 years before and fade off into the sunset. And they do that in like their early to mid 40s, which is right as you should be ramping up into your most effective times. Right. And that transition, I find that kind of sad. It is a little rocky. There's differences. You come out, if you're a colonel, you have been leading leaders of leaders for like 10 years. And you're going to come out and work in a job outside, and they're going to, hey, run this spreadsheet. It's a big step down. But it needs to happen so that we can get these people. Our country needs these people to be out there doing things, leading, running, being more effective, productive citizens, the ones that they were born to be. So yeah, I try to help that. I try to work with people getting out. I got different types when I was working at Sprint, T-Mobile. I would get the people retiring that wanted to know how to get a corporate job. And now I get the people who want to buy business. So, but that's
I have another fun fact.
Okay.
I have another fun fact, because last time you were on the show, so everyone here has been on the show before, if you're watching in the audience. Last time you were on the show, I just have to be really honest. I don't have a ton of military people in my life. And so I was so just in awe of what you were saying. And so I don't know if it's a subconscious thing, but now I'm single. I wasn't single then. And I've recently met 2 separate people, got on 2 separate dates of people formerly in the military. And if you are dating, look for the military people. And they are so beyond respectful. It's making me question if I even know how to have a healthy relationship, because I'm like, do they hate me? No, they're just being respectful. Like, it's just another level of respect that I've just been blown away by. And I imagine it's like that at work too.
I bet I could find some military people that wouldn't be that respectful.
Yeah,
to be fair, I date women.
Famously so.
It's been great for me. So, but yeah, it's just been it's just a whole different training, right? Because you at 18, you just start having a level of discipline most of us don't.
I really do think it's great. Especially, I spent 2 years as cadre in basic training area in Fort Sill, and watching young people come in, and they change significantly over 9 weeks of training. And you look at what the training is during basic training, and it's not really proficiency in doing anything as a soldier. They barely learn how to shoot. Their level of physical fitness when they get out, which might seem amazing compared to where they came in, I mean, it's laughable for people who are career soldiers. I mean, they're young privates. That's not, you're getting them started on it. But the thing that really gets done in that time is you get encultured with a system of values, with the culture. And each one of the services has different mottos. The Army one, it makes an acronym that kind of looks like leadership, because if you want to make a good acronym, you got to spell something, and it's the Army values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Because it couldn't just be courage, because then it would be leadership.
Right.
So, and those 18-year-olds, they come out, and having spoken at basic training graduations, and all of the parents that drop their kids off, they drop kids off and they come back and meet, adult men and women, and they all come up and tell you that, what did you do to my kid? He looks me in the eye. He's an adult. handling his own stuff. And I really think that is a great experience.
That's awesome. Well, you and Shay are going to have to connect on the back end because I know she does a lot with veterans. I want to get over here to Doug, but there are all sorts of. Lynette says, huge step down. Wow. I never been in the military, but never thought about those who retire out and what they do afterwards. Right. That's why I love about the show. We always learn stuff that's so like out, so organic. We bring people together that are in tons of different industries. All right, Doug, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City, sir?
Doug Burris, talent acquisition consultant for startups and growth stage companies. My parents were divorced when I was 5. My dad moved to Kansas City. Been here more or less ever since.
So, Doug, I'll ask a business question and a personal question. But on a business question, what does a bread and butter client look like for your business?
Technology driven, typically software SaaS company, pre-series A, growth stage. Not big enough that they need a recruiter full time, but they have growth talent needs. Don't necessarily know what that looks like from an org development perspective. So I help them find organizational development, culture development, talent acquisition strategy, comp strategy. That's what I deliver. I'm changing my mantra a little bit. I get paid for time and judgment and to keep founders from doing dumb things with people.
Yeah, and then I'll let Aaron ask the next question here. But on a personal note, you had something go on at your kiddo's school. Aaron also had something go on at Olathe East at her school last year as well. But I can tell that that's obviously on your mind. I'm sure the audience will learn about it later as they turn on the news. But if you want to share, what's going through your head and what's going on in your world.
Yeah, so a bit of a crazy day in and around schools in Kansas City. I've graduated too from Bishop Miege, and I've got a junior there now. There was a credible social media threat at Miege last night, and so school was open today, but most kids showed up and then left. They're just not comfortable being there. There was a near drowning at a middle school in Kansas City today, and there was a shooting outside of a charter school in Westport, downtown kind of area of Kansas City today. So just ongoing craziness in the world. It's been a bit of a distraction today, just mental and emotional health of kids, and not to mention personal safety. And Aaron faced this front and center last year. So
thank you for being on the show, Aaron. I know that took you a while to process, a couple weeks or months, but how are your kiddos doing, and just kind of food for thought for the audience of kind of everything that you and Doug have gone through?
Yeah, I think, Doug, you and I might have a little bit different experience, and because my kids go to public school, the thing I never put together is when something happens at school, usually your neighborhood's all going through it too. So it was I got to process a little bit more with my direct neighbors, right? Where your kids go to private school, so there's probably some sort of community thing you can reach out to and process that as well. But yeah, it was really crazy because I never thought like, oh, I know it affects the community, but you don't think of it affecting like the person next door. Like for me, the people next door, the teachers and the nurses specifically who were in the building last year when we had a school shooting. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, our community is literally Kansas City wide.
Right.
Because Miege is very central and all that. So it is Kansas City wide, but the email and text notifications came out this morning what was going on, and it was all right here. FaceTime and Snapchat, and it was alive all morning. So, and what was intriguing about it, and I do have a question, and want to get back to Jim here, was how quickly parents were immediately bonding together in kind of group thinking decisions on school's open. Are you sending yours? What's the plan? Are you comfortable pulling them out early? Like it was just this. It wasn't going next door and walking down the sidewalk, but it was the age of social media and electronic media that brought people together pretty quickly to group think the decisions. I want to pivot back to Jim really quick. For people transitioning out of the military, gross general question, what's the biggest challenge? What is the transitional challenge to move into corporate America or private enterprise? And what's the biggest challenge you see from the employer side on, because I've seen it for years on, it's hard to translate what the job as a colonel in the Army or Air Force or whatever. How does that translate to corporate America? Is that a VP? Is it a director? What's the scope? What's your definition of that?
So we're talking about people who are transitioning out at the end of full careers,
Right.
And we're specifically talking about officers at this point. People with degrees, sometimes multiple advanced degrees, because there are significantly different challenges for junior officers. Actually, there's like no challenges for junior officers to get out. They have headhunters going after them to take them to Deloitte or GE or all over. A guy who gets out as a captain at 4 years the CEO of Johnson & Johnson was a captain, West Point captain, got out in 4 years. They're all over. But enlisted members have significantly different challenges. Those that are enlisted for 1 or 2 enlistments for a couple of years may have different challenges also. And senior sergeants who get out have enormous challenges. For the officers getting out, it's at 20 some years, those who get out like more senior, like colonels, one-star generals, kind of 2-star generals sometimes, they have issues with the level of seniority that they were and really going back to work. I see, for me, I run into full-bird colonels like that a lot. But those guys also are generally a little older, 50s. I mean, they are actually closer to retirement. The lieutenant colonels that get out at the 42 to 45 years old that should be crushing it. I mean, you talked about level. Are they directors? Are they vice presidents? What does that even mean in different companies? I see people who they get really tied up over the rank. So I see people who would go be the COO of a company with 10 employees,
right?
Or they'll take a director role in a made up position rather than doing pick a career. Are you going to be a project manager? Are you going to be a finance guy? Are you going to be a sales guy? Pick something. Are you going to be an insurance guy? You pick a type of, a type of career really helps. This is what I do. And in the military, there is only one for officers. You can pick all kinds of different career fields or things to do, but there's always a right one that's going to go towards promotion. The idea that you could go, I don't mind looking at spreadsheets and trying to figure out, I don't mind doing accounting. You could be the CEO of a company following that path. That is not something that military guys generally understand.
Right.
They want to go, okay, well, what's the path? What's the golden path to promotion? Well, it doesn't exist that way. Right. Pick something. Make yourself something. I made myself a project manager. And then I made myself a data analytics guy next. And then I bought it. And I made myself an internal consultant, then I bought a company. But make yourself something. And once you do, you get better at that. You progress in that career field. I would point out Nick Ayers at T-Mobile right now, who is really succeeding, who is actually he's broken through to the made man kind of level, the senior leadership there, which in telecom is the director level. And he got out and he made himself a project manager and then a finance project manager. And he's doing great. You just have to make yourself. The super generalist is what we stumble on a lot.
Yep.
Have you ever read one of our resumes?
Oh yeah,
straight out, make your eyes water.
I can't wait to hear your answer. We got to get to the Burns and McDonnell question of the day. So I can't wait to hear your answer, Jim, when we get on there. But we will start with you, Debra. I'm going to play it. So right afterwards, just jump in. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Sunitha Levin, and I work at Burns & McDonnell, helping advance telecommunications across the U.S. My question for today is, how do you manage your time, and how much is it worth to you?
How I manage my time by trying to actually take notes on everything. I had to write everything down. I tried it with my phone, different techniques, but for me, it's pen and paper and just keeping track. And time is of essence. It's not enough time in the day, so it's important for me to make the most, because a lot of my stuff has deadlines, and I don't want anyone to be mad at me. And I want them to come back. So I had to make sure I get things done on time. Like I said, I rather promise. What's the saying? Over promise. Wait a minute. I can't remember the saying.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yes, that right there. Yeah.
No, I'm
deliver.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic, so I have to practice that because I always reverse it back. But Debra, when you mentioned a piece of paper, is it the same sheet or do you do a new sheet? Because the amount of things that you have in the air, it's really impressive. So it's a talent in itself, but also what I've seen with people in construction, it's like a superpower. So your ability to have it on one sheet. So like tell the audience, because I think they could learn from it. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, you got to put it online. Well, you're managing a lot of stuff. So what's your system?
So my system, I make different sheets for different things. So like I have a sheet that's your project. So I list everything I need to do for that day. And I do that at night. So I know when I come in the morning, boom, it's already there. It is. And it's it's a challenge for me because I look at it and I say, okay, and then I have a box next to it and I can just mark it off. So that's like an achievement for me. Like, yeah, all right, I got 5 projects done today. And it can be as little as, just restocking something. Yeah. But it's just the point that I was able to get it done and it's done and I don't have to worry about it. So that part. And then with everything else, it just depends on what it is. I have probably like a couple different things that I do. It just depends on what they need because I do have 2 businesses within one. So I had to kind of keep it separated, but together.
Shay, how do you prioritize your time?
Oh, well, I definitely have boundaries around my time and in my personal life. So I make sure that self-care, taking care of myself first. And that was a huge thing I didn't do in my other business before I transitioned from my full-time hustle to my part-time hustle. I didn't really count myself in. So this time around, I definitely count myself in, but I'm like Debra, I'm sorry, I forgot. I do what you do. I put something on paper and I just don't use little tiny sheets of paper. I use big poster board because I can't even on the laptop, if I use like Trello or something like that, a project manager, I can't see it. My mind goes to the big vision of it. So I have to see it all written out. And I have so many different projects, whether it's somebody's podcast or somebody's book or, my own stuff going on that I need so many different pieces of paper. So yeah, I have it all written all over. As I'm looking across my office, I have it all written out.
Cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Jim?
Well, I have like a green notebook that I carry around, which I actually left in the other office I can show, but I've got a system for taking notes and the little boxes by them and I update and take it. Anyway, I've always used that, but honestly, right now I'm so overwhelmed that the best thing I do to manage time is if it's got a deadline on it, if it needs to be done, I get it the heck out of my hands and get it to somebody else quickly. That's what I try to do right now. So. Yeah,
I just think it's important for the audience that's watching, and I'm glad that everyone's kind of elaborating, but there's so much technology, but at the end of the day, if you don't see it in front of yourself, I'm saying this before we get to Doug because he's in tech, but I just think it's fascinating. You can run a business, you can run 3 businesses, you could run 8 podcasts, you could run 17 different deadlines. I have no idea how Erin does what she does. But Jim, I think you and Erin are very similar in your deadlines. So Doug, what about yourself?
Similar to Jim, I've got a notebook. I've got a series of notebooks.
Everyone.
diary.
Do you keep them? Do you have them going back years?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you got this. You can go because you get all your other notes in there. I've got like a whole shelf, couple shelves in my office.
Absolutely. So
Right.
notebook, diary style, day by day, priorities, notes on meetings with clients and candidates, all that kind of stuff. And calendar. I've got a major gray hair, yellow clouds generational issue. Kids don't use calendars. It's driving me bananas. Recent college graduates not keeping calendars.
Whoa, back up here. Explain to the audience, and Erin will probably jump in on this too. She has a lot of Gen Z. What do you mean they don't use calendars?
I cannot begin to even estimate how many within the last 2 years have graduated college that I send meeting invitations for my initial phone screens, my interviews with my clients. We're talking interviews for jobs. They never accept a calendar invitation. And when I call or jump on a Zoom meeting, inevitably twice a day, I'm sorry, a little bit late. I had to remember that I had this today.
That's not been my same experience.
Happens all
Well,
the
I mean,
time.
it's. I think it's unique. I'm sure there's a little bit of a mix. I've dealt with some young kids out of school. So to be fair, I mean, it's tough.
I do think that they like the accessibility of like a Calendly or an Acuity or something like that.
Right.
They definitely like that and picking their own times.
Yep.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I do find my experience has been, and I don't know if this is what's going on, but my experience has been with the generation above me, specifically men, where they will send me calendar invites without checking my schedule that I just won't accept. And I know that they push back a lot at that. Like they want to be in charge of where that goes on their calendar. But that's not been my same experience. And Jim and I aren't alike because I don't do notebooks. I do everything online and I do every calendar blocking is how I prioritize my time. If it's not that time on my calendar, it just doesn't happen. It has to go on my calendar.
Outlook calendar is separate than the notebooks full of tasks to be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I do use our friends Erin at Calendly religiously. Even still, I still running into those issues generationally, and I'll just pick on that. But yeah, my calendar, blocking out times, stay religious to it. The self-care piece of it, 2 afternoons a week. I don't do any meetings after 3:30 in the afternoon because I've just got to have time to work, that kind of stuff. So, and to answer the question, time is invaluable. But it is my knowledge up here and my time is the two things that I really offer. Time to me is the most valuable asset, whether it's time with my kids or time with my wife or time working. It is the most valuable thing we've got.
Yeah, I think this is a great question to ask our sponsor, Burns & Mac and Bank of Blue Valley, because they run such big organizations. But specifically, Erin, I know you've hired a chief operating officer, but I'm curious, just after hearing what everyone does, I'm curious how you prioritize your time.
I mean, just mostly my calendar. And then we've not been open on Fridays since 2020. So that's when I do all of my my stuff because clients know we're not open and my team knows we're not open. So I get a lot of my own time on Fridays. And then I'm done working. I work at 5:30 to 3:30. So I make my own schedule. I'm done like 3:30, 4 o'clock. Tuesdays are my late day. You're welcome, guys, for me to be here to 4. And then I'm kids after that. So I know what's important to me, and then I calendar block. How about you, Scott?
I'm a 5:30 a.m. person.
We talk at 5:30 a lot.
Yep. And so I have Debra. I'll write it down sometimes, but I'll take a picture. But I put everything in a calendar, which is to do, and in that to do is everything that I have to get done for that time frame. Right. And then until that's done, I don't do anything else. And then our world's everything adds back up the second you step away for an hour or 2 hours. It goes right back up. But if we don't write it down, we won't remember it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because I noticed that when I do, I tried all those other little apps and stuff, and it didn't work for me. And then it was like too hard to learn. I'm like, I could have had this done but I'm fooling with this app trying to figure it out. And that's time wasted. But I just know that if I just set that time and then stick by it and say no, which is very valuable, I'm good, So time, you can't get that back.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we got a couple, we got 15 minutes left, 14 minutes. So I wanted to get to this. Debra, what does your 2023 goals look like, and how are you going to achieve them?
My goals for this year is absolutely busting out the seam with new, improved, different techniques of doing things. I am adding more subscription boxes type situations and to the product line, so people can you can customize it and just it's all in one kit. Like you might get a t-shirt and something else with it and something else with it, doing that. And then along with doing more print and sips, and which is really starting to take off in a world of its own with the different events and team building skills. People are really loving that, along with classes. So that's this year. That's what's going on. And hopefully by the end of the year, by Christmas time, I plan on having my own clothing line. So,
ooh, that'll be fun. How about you, Shay?
Oh gosh, let's see. I'm doing some more speaking events this year and creating a kind of a program with a partner around the art of conversation, and in all areas of life, whether it's corporate or your family or podcasting. And I am, having another fire starter book come out this year, which is a co-author book that people are a part of, which I love.
Yeah, explain more.
Yeah. So I'm a co-founder of Firestarters Book Project. It is where people from all walks of life come together under one umbrella of this book, and we put a theme together. And we did this 2 years ago, and the first theme was how to be a spark of hope in the midst of change. And this time around, it is called How to Rekindle Your Kindness. So people from all walks of life, just to really show that we're all similar underneath, but it's not about, sending it. It's kind of like chicken soup for the soul, but it's not sending out to nurses or teachers a specific target market. It's more about the theme. So we have that under our belts for this year, and just picking up more clients for coaching. I do work with veterans as well, and those are my buddies. So I love working with them. But yeah, my goals are all over, and how do I achieve them? By literally just having great conversations like this that inspire me to go, oh yeah, let me do that. Let me do this. And in future, literally tomorrow, I'll be in a podcast conference all week where I'll meet 500 of my new best friends.
Oh, love it. Love it. How about you, Jim?
This year I am establishing systems for running the company. Anybody who's worked in a large company knows that meetings run everything. There's a schedule for them, a rhythm. Things are reviewed on time, and it's not because the owner is just kind of looking over the top and figures out that we're making money here or losing money there, or should hire someone here. So unfortunately, in some ways for my people, I'm setting meetings, a system of them to run the company, because the company's far too big to know when one project comes in and goes out, and it's getting to be too big to know when we hire someone or someone gets terminated. And systems this year.
Yeah, Jim, one thing is there's an entrepreneur. They own a electrical company, but they have 30 union employees and 20 full-time. But the owner is just putting fires out by when deadlines are coming up. Yep. And we're in a peer group setting of other executives, and someone recommended, finding someone that wants that internship that's right out of college, but they're, front seat to the owner running 3 different companies. And I just didn't know that random thought that was thrown out there. Was a group of people that are all business owners. Yeah, it would be a young person's dream to get to mentor under the CEO. You know, what are your thoughts on something like that? I thought it was a great idea, but I didn't know if you ever thought it was a good idea to have basically someone be, I call it an admin. I'm the name tag and Sharpie guy at every meeting, but I get to the room.
I know like I hadn't really thought of an intern. I recently tried out using like an outsourced admin, and it's just kind of, sometimes I don't get around to like supervising, you know, or giving stuff to the very nice lady in the Philippines to do. An intern would probably help with that. In general, though, the company needs to not be me making the decisions. And small businesses, it is. You can see, hey, we got this job. We got people on it, and you can shepherd it. And you get to a certain point, you can't see that. And bigger businesses have systems. I've got like an adolescent, like an awkward teenage company. No systems yet, not just way too big for me to keep track of. So, and I've got a times two, because Santa Fe's like that and Midland Marble's like that.
That's funny. I actually hired an assistant who is Debra's niece. And then I was so bad.
He has made Erin's life amazing.
Well, and I was bad at giving her stuff. I wasn't ready to have an assistant, I don't think, because I'm kind of a control freak. But what we realized is she had such a great skill set. We actually moved her into a project management position, which we probably wouldn't have hired her for because she hadn't had any experience. But I would have her do these little things to help me out. And all of a sudden, I was like, she's 1,000 times faster than I will ever be at some of this stuff, right? And yeah, so she just got promoted to project manager. But so I'm not against the intern idea. She wasn't hired as an intern, but as an assistant, already moved up in the company.
Especially if it's someone already working with you, Jim. Just throwing it out there.
Helps if you know her aunt too.
Does somebody have an intern that wants to come over?
Right, exactly. How about you, Doug? We got a couple minutes left. How about your 2023 goals?
Expand in the niches. So I'm leaning into working with education technology companies. There is a monster tidal wave of evolution coming in education. Lots of startups and growth stage companies addressing those changes. So I'm leaning into that niche for 2023.
There's some major ones in Kansas City too, right?
Yeah.
There are some significant players in Kansas City.
Old College and Knoll. There's about 4 of those companies. Been around for 15 plus years. Yeah, there's a huge education tech group and some in downtown Overland Park. But you know, Erin, to her credit, became an expert in TikTok before everyone else did, and everyone else reaches out to her. Obviously, with GPT and artificial intelligence, you know, that's not there yet. But wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything that's going to take our business world by storm in my lifetime than that. It's pretty nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't own a marketing company, so we're all scared over here, right? We're trying to admit all the things that Google can say that's artificial intelligence and push back over here. I don't know on insurance. That'll just help you get faster. So, all right, Scott, we got 5 minutes left. 1 minute answers. Ask one of your stupid icebreaker questions.
If you are going to dinner with a family member or a loved one, Debra, where is a nostalgic place for you, whether it's a hole in the wall or a well-known establishment, restaurant that you like to go to, and what are you going to order? So when you close your eyes,
Here.
and it could be anywhere in the world, or it could be Kansas City, but what's a nostalgic restaurant that means something to you and a loved one?
Harold's Chicken and Ice Bar. It's in Atlanta, Georgia.
And what are you going to order?
Probably a 10-piece wings with fries and a Long Island iced tea.
Hold on. I just
Yeah,
went to Debra's
10
birthday. Hold on. I just went to Debra's birthday party, and nobody I know knows this, so I'm going to say this. There's a restaurant called Bistro over in Overland Park, and they have the best Cajun food, and they have daiquiris to go. Okay?
Right.
So let me just put that out there.
Where's this at?
Like
92nd and Metcalf.
or Metcalf, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
KC Daiquiri Shop Bistro.
All right,
Okay.
Shay, what's a nostalgic restaurant that means something to you and a loved one? Where would you go? What isn't? What are you going to order?
Well, it means a lot to me and my family, actually, when they were in town visiting me in Kansas City. It's called Little Bit Barbecue. And it is, of course, I'm going to order burnt ends because nowhere in Florida has barbecue like Kansas City has barbecue. But my family would go there before or after we would go to the doctor with my dad where he had terminal cancer. So yeah, it definitely means a lot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jim, what about yourself? What's the nostalgic feeling? Where are you going?
Frank's for the Memories in Mundelein, Illinois. It's best.
What are you going to order there?
Hot wings is the only thing they serve. Not suicide level. Don't do the suicide.
Oh,
All right, Doug, what about you? Where's the nostalgic place that you go? What are you ordering?
Going to Houston's. It was my dad and I's spot before he passed away. Ordering the traditional salad and either the chicken tenders or the ribs.
Everyone in Kansas City claims they have a chef or a connection to the chicken tenders at Houston's, and I don't believe anymore. And I just goes on this. So, Aaron, nostalgic wise, what
Lasers and Gardner. Lasers and Gardner, because it was a small town when I went there, and that was like where you would have your dates and stuff. And I would get the French fries. How about you, Scott?
Hayward's Barbecue, and it used to be where Q39 was at College in Antioch, and then they had another location, kind of like 91st in Antioch. Now they are in Lenexa, and after a lot of turmoil of the ownership changing, and they changed the sauce. They got the original sauce back, and they cook it originally. But for my birthday every year, that is what I get.
Hayward's Barbecue. Paul says, holy cow, Long Island iced tea. That's a night under, not a night starter. Need to go with you guys.
Wise man.
All right, well, here's the deal. I want to say thank you so much to our entire panel. Everybody here is tagged on LinkedIn, so please go connect, follow, hook up with them, find out where their businesses are, do events with them. And thank you so much to Bank of Blue Valley and Burns and McDonnell. Thank you, Scott, for co-hosting with me. And we will see you the same time, same place next week, next Tuesday at 3 Central Standard Time. Bye, guys.